on the table.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
I might tear up Hi, my name is Kenny. I'm grateful for coming at it. First and foremost, I want to give praise and honor to God for the day. I want to thank the Tri-State region for inviting me out one more time. I was looking at the banner that I did the Men's Day back in '98, and I was humble. I got the call. I thank Jesse and Tim picking me up, Dale for taking me to a meeting yesterday. I'm always humbled by, we have such a love for one another, man, that it moves me, for real. I don't know what I'm about to talk about. I know I pray, and I ask God to direct me, and I get out the way. Now, the men's meeting is something that is not to be taken lightly. I was looking at stuff happening. The Mike, the duck, he had to become MacGyver and take this thing up. I said, man, it's always an attack when men try to come together and come as a whole. Literature says this: when our spiritual conditions are met, our living problems are reduced to a point of comfort. Get down to the 11th step. It says, when I forget that we quickly become subject to the same patterns of thinking that brought us to the program in the first place. You mean when I'm off key and there's a lowness about me, that when I haven't treated my spiritual condition, then I'm suffering from spiritual malnutrition? You mean there's always a constant attack on me in my decision-making process, that whatever that thing is, that same something that it talks about in the flat book, that when I begin to chase that same something, if it's something contrary to God, then I'm headed for disaster all over again, and I ain't went back to the block and smoked nothing.
Come on now, come on.
I came up here on Thursday. Normally, my squad has reduced, man. First started doing this, it was a whole lot of brothers who I sponsored. We would get together, then me and my son, and then me and my wife, and so I said I needed to come up here. I knew I had to do some step work with some of the brothers that I'm fortunate to sponsor, and I wanted to take some personal time out for me. And I was dealing with, man, I'm about to be 52 years old. I got a 34-year-old daughter, a 32-year-old daughter, a 22-year-old daughter, and a 14-year-old son. I got four grandchildren, and they all love them some pop and some dad. And some people in my life, my uncle just passed, and some other people have made their transition. So I was talking to my wife about, listen, I need to put some stuff in order. And this is the way that I'm choosing to break it down. I needed to make sure the life insurance policy is intact. I needed to make some transition as far as the real estate that I'm fortunate to own, to make sure they go to the kids and this and that and what's to be sold, because recovery makes you responsible in all areas. And so I want to be, listen, you might hear, I came around here, man, really 25 years ago. I'm coming up on 22 years clean, and people said something to me that you sound like a preacher. And I would cuss at them and call them some choice words because that wasn't me at that time. So I thought. And then, gradually, as I went in and out of here, had to derive out of something, because when I came back, after I went out and had been 22 months clean, my first assignment where my sponsor placed me back in, he told me, listen, I want you to go back to a third. I want you to dig into that 6. Now I want you to jump right into your 11. Because you got a problem, man, with trust. You got a problem with trusting God. You keep wanting to hoard some stuff, and it's diluting the relationship that you desire to have with God. And I'm telling you, some stuff happened to me, man, that I don't have the words to adequately explain. But I know that in my inmost being, man, My strongest desire is to be a vessel that God would use, right? I had, disease made a suggestion Thursday, made a suggestion, right? I seen George. I said, George, let me tell you about the suggestion that the disease made. George shared his experience. I said, we ain't doing that. Because disease always on a launching pad want to make a suggestion that it ain't going to take you down that dead-end road. We just going to go visit for a minute, and everything's going to be all right. So I said, we ain't visiting nothing, man. We ain't doing that. Listen, I love my wife. I don't cheat on me, and my wife gets the benefit that I don't cheat on her. I've fought hard with myself to self-discipline. I don't want to be the guy who runs aimlessly. You could throw a leaf in the pond, and if the pond is spread even by fresh water, the leaf has no decision in what way the current will take it. I don't want to be that guy. Because when you jump in the battle with the disease of addiction, you become that leaf that it just takes you wherever it wants to take you. First step says, listen, I'm going to implore you with some power. I'm going to give you the power of choice. I believe that, listen, man, you get this choice. Either, Kenny, you're going to be the guy that people will look at you and say, man, boy, I like what you're doing with your life. Man. Or you would be the person where people say, man, I don't want to be nothing like that brother. Both of them will motivate people. Kenny, what side of the track do you want to be on? I don't want to go back to the condition that I was in. I don't want to go back to the fetal position of calling out, asking God for one more shot, man. I remember being in that position, and this was my promise. I said, God, if you give me one more shot, I'll do what you tell me to do. I'll go where you tell me to go. Please, God, give me one more shot. My daughter, who's the oldest, she was 10 years old. My other one was 8 years old. I had two promises, right? I walked with them individual, took them down to a thing like this, like the water, and I walked with my oldest daughter. I said, Daddy got two promises. I ain't going to use no more of that stuff, and I ain't going to put my hands on nobody. I walked her back up to where her mom. I went and picked up my youngest daughter, walked her down to that same park, that same spot. She's 8 years old. I say the same thing out of my mouth. Baby, Daddy ain't going to use no more of that stuff, and I ain't going to put my hands on nobody. And this 8-year-old little girl looked me in my eyes and said, Daddy, you the one supposed to be taking care of us. You the one doing the most harm to us. And my throat got lumpy and tears. And I took her back to her mom, and tears was coming down my face. And I said, God, please help me not hurt my baby. Help me grow up. Help me do the things that you have commissioned me to do. Help me not take this thing too light, man. Help me stop reading this literature, comparing it to you, seeing if you measure up. Help me put myself. Michael Jackson said these words. He said, if you ever want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. How do I change myself, and how do I make a healthy change, man? I remember just making a change. You know, her name was Maria and Susie, and those were just changes. But how do I make a healthy one? That I don't keep running around in that same circle. Wouldn't be no punk no more, man. Came in here at 22 assault charges, 2 attempted murder charges. That's when I got caught. I was trying to live up to be a gang leader, and my spirit was bothering me. And I didn't have the courage to say, man, I want to do this stuff. Came in here them first couple years, I ain't had the courage to say, I ain't with that. I ain't down with that, man. That don't sound like a good move to me. I want to hang out with that. And I ain't talking about none of y'all. I'm talking about what I just finished talking about when this thing make a suggestion and you guys say, yo, that's, that ain't a good idea. Listen, let me tell y'all, right? Because I heard one brother earlier, right? And I ain't mocking nobody, right? But this would happen the other day. You know, they do some nice things when they fly us in. They take care of the accommodations. For some nice things. I mean, you know, they make sure that transportation is for you. They ask you if you all right. Have you eat this, that? And I mean, my heart, right? They came to me because I charged it, my flight. And they said, hey, I said, well, you know, you said you're going to reimburse. So they came down. I was sitting back there in that row, right? And they had me sign the check, had me the envelope. I was into the meeting. I didn't count what was in the envelope. Then I opened up the envelope. That was more than what I paid for the flight. That was 3 times as much. I said, oh no, I can't steal from the vehicle that God has allowed me to get better. I said, we got to go take care of this right now. So I took the envelope back. Here, y'all need to recount this. Something ain't right with this number. That ain't what I paid. I know if y'all trying to tip me. In the church when I'm preaching, they give me a love offering, but this ain't the church. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
Because it would be not a good move to want to stick up where God has said, hey, I'm going to take you to this vehicle. This is going to be the vehicle that help you gain a relationship and become healthy with me. Right? I say that to say this. It would be uncool for me to come in here and exploit the women.
Come on now.
Like they ain't God's creatures.
Come on.
And I say, well, I'm getting better. I work on, man, easy does it. We work on that later. For real. That if I start looking at everybody like they are important pieces of the puzzle. My parents used to give me puzzles when I was young. They had to buy me much for Christmas. I was fascinated by putting every piece of the puzzle in place. I could see the picture on the box, but something happened every time I placed. God brought us in here, and he said, listen, this puzzle ain't complete until you put your piece of the puzzle, you put your piece of the puzzle, you bring your piece, because something happens.
That's right.
And it happens. And somehow we get blessed, man. I was looking at that stuff on TV. I said, man, you know what Washington need to do is come to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. That's what I said. I said, oh, y'all got some stuff with y'all. You come down, do some writing, examine. That's what because somehow we get knitted in. And all gradations of color show up here. And somehow God worked in a mysterious way where the world and I will agree that drugs is bad for you. But you put God in that and all works for the good. And what gets produced out of that is that we begin to seek out authentic love. We begin to find ourselves, allow people to be them. Instead of praying on them, P-R-E-Y, we learn how to pray for them, P-R-A-Y. Something in our attitude changes, right? Way back in the literature. The only thing that would defeat us is an attitude, it says first. Then it goes through indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. But if I can check the attitude, everything else become open for suggestion. Spiritual principles do not conflict. They touch and agree. So if I'm willing now to soar, right? That means to be unlimited, because that's what our text says, unlimited growth. I'm the only one can put a ceiling on my growth.
That's right.
And you know how I do that? When I don't operate in a seventh. When the humility does not be apparent, but I'm running out on ego and arrogance and pride, right? God has to humble me all over again. So if I can learn how to remain in that posture, it says that posture is as important as food and water to the body. That means this is some life-sustaining stuff. It's necessary. I got to learn how to operate this in my life. I got to know that the gifts that God gave me are to be used for His glory, and that the gifts are not to manipulate each other or to kill myself, man. I don't hang around with frenemies. I just don't. I do not hang with frenemies. If I can't be honest and truthful with you, then I'm not going to waste my time hanging. I'm not, man. I'm just that stern with me. I'm not soaring to have an illusion of perfectionist, but there's some things on the plate that you just know. Nobody got to tell me. Ain't a good idea, Kenny, to ride to Cleveland. Ain't no what? No. That ain't a good move. That's not a good look. Got on the phone with one of the brothers I sponsor. He's down at this other convention doing the men's rap. We got on the phone. We prayed together and stuff. He asked me some questions. I told him some stuff. And listen, man. People say some real good stuff. I mean, and it can. I fight tears because I remember the guy I was. I remember shooting people, and they would ask me not to shoot them. I remember that. I remember beating up people, and I really don't know if they made it through it, because I left. I remember doing all that kind of stuff. I was not practicing some nice gestures prior to coming to Narcotics Anonymous. And so I'm always saying, man, I owe tremendously. I mean, I didn't see a way out. I had barred into. A guy took a risk, came, and I mean a risk then, because that's how I was living, and came and told me about y'all. I had 5 different guns on me. Then I had a sawed-off up under the couch. I had just gotten in it with some New York boys. I had shot up the whole, I'm telling you what I done. And it's a knock on the door to tell me about y'all. And I tried to play like I wasn't listening to him. My older brother, who wasn't the ideal older brother, who I thought maybe he was supposed to be lending me money and beating up folks for me. Well, my brother wasn't like that. But my brother seen his younger brother in trouble, so he went to one of the members in here and he said, listen, man, my brother's hurting. And he's not, I'm ready to cry. He said, he's not going to tell nobody. He said, can you go talk to my brother?
Come on with it.
And the man came and talked to me. And when he knocked on the door, my mind said, this is what I said. I said, you can come in. But my mind said, you ain't getting up out of here. I had every intentions on shooting to help. But he began to spill out some things about y'all. Truth hits the heart. Right? And he got up. He said, listen, I ain't going to waste no more of your time. Here's my name and here's my number. He left that. He got up, walked out. One of my partners was in the back room. He came out. Eagle showed back. I was feeling what the brother was saying to me. My man come from the back room. He said, man, who was that guy? Eagle showed back up. I said, I don't know, man. I should have went on and shot him. You know my next move? I got out of there. What? Made it up to my parents' house. Walked in upstairs. Got on the phone. You know, these things wasn't out back then. I got on the phone. I'm dialing the number. I call my man up because I want to find out about what he's talking about. About y'all. I had never heard of a 12-step fellowship. Never. Right? So I called him up. He's all excited in the background. His wife answered. I said, oh, man, this guy is corny, man. I call this guy up. How can he get so excited that I'm on the phone? Right? He was telling his wife, this guy, I could hear the whole thing. So he tells me about y'all and where the meeting at, and I don't know nothing about no meetings. And he say, well, the meeting's at this place called People Settlement in Delaware, right? I said, man, I don't know where that's at. Well, what I didn't realize that my mommy, hear me now, my mommy downstairs had picked up the phone the same time I went upstairs to get on the phone. She says, I know where it's at. I'm going to bring you. So I'm a tough guy that made his first meeting by his mommy dropping him off. Go figure. My mom is one of my best friends. My father is my hero. My mom's name is Faith. My father's name is David. David slew giants. Faith moved mountains. I was blessed from the start. I came in here. Y'all told me get dictionary, do this, do that. I went further enough to even look up my name. I had nicknames that I called myself. My name, Kenny means appealing one. Kenneth means courageous champion. I was trying to run from what God had already ordained me to be.
All right.
Ain't nowhere to hide from God, man. Ain't nowhere to hide. Why am I trying to shuck and jive this thing? I live right now beyond my imagination, man. I live really good. I'm in an area where people say some stuff, man, you should run for mayor. No. I'm serious. I own a whole lot of real estate in every neighborhood. So I'm involved in the neighborhood. I mentor kids. I coach basketball. I'm involved. My son is the only one still in his homework. I go to parents and teachers. I show up for all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
All that. Because that's what this thing commissioned me to do. I got 11 kids that I adopted in Africa. I built an orphanage house in Africa. I'm not boasting I'm telling you the unlimited places. I sat in rooms with people who have double PhDs, this, that, graduated, summa cum laude, all that. And I sat at the table and I got tears in my eyes because I know it ain't nothing but God's grace and His mercy, man. They ask me some stuff sometimes. Where you get that information? I tell them about this book. 8th grade reading level. It's real, man. Tell them about this stuff. I tell them about y'all. My pastor one time, he said, no, he didn't say it. One of the members said, they said, Rev, you go and help them people. I looked at them twisted. I said, nah, them people help me. In fact, if I didn't meet them people, you'd be in trouble. You feel me? You be, hey. You know, church would have been turned out. That's real, man. I keep it because it's that solid to me. I won't go over my time, so I got to watch. Listen, I was talking to my son. My son is the spitting image of me. I mean, spitting image, right? My son is smart as a whip, man. My son didn't do so well this first marking period. His first year in high school, he's getting some extra attention from the girls. We sat down at the table. My son said, I said, man, what's up with you? He said, Dad, I just don't feel like doing it. My son has had me, I tapped him on his butt probably twice in a lifetime. That's it. I don't beat up on my kids, right? And it made me want to jump in him because I said these words to him. I said, man, you might need me to hit that nerve in that ass. That's what I said to him. In that ass that stimulate that mind that you know daddy ain't playing, right? My son's rebuttal was this. He says, well, they ain't going to do nothing but make me angry. I ain't know how to digest that. I ain't know whether that was come on with it. You know what I mean? So I skipped right by there because I didn't know whether we was great. My wife turned around. I didn't know whether I was going to tear the kitchen up, you know? And I said, man. So later on that night, because, every night, me and my wife, we pray together. Every night, I've been with her. We just celebrated our 4th year in marriage. We've been together 6.5 years, really. And every night, we pray together. Even last night, when I'm away or she away, we pray together. My wife is not in the fellowship. But you couldn't tell if my wife was here, she'd be over there in the women's rap, for sure, involved, right? But we went to bed and we had that, the pillow talk, and she said, how would you do him if he's one of the brothers that you sponsor? Or how would you treat him if it's one of the guys that you mentor? And I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning thinking about what she had said to me. So I told my son, I said, hey, man, we're going to talk to one of my friends, and he's a therapist. I said, I want, because I don't want my son get off track, man, right? So we went and sat down, and my son was able to articulate his feelings and stuff. We had a great old day, just daddy and son day, and we rapped, man. And I spoke these words. I said, son, man, I believe in you. I love you, man. You my dude, man. Ain't nothing I wouldn't do for you. Right? Because listen, man, our kids need us to speak into them. Not at them, but into them. Listen, this is the greatest thing that happened to me that helped me get reconnected with the God in whom I serve. Because I still don't understand God. I just learned how to trust him. All right? But I'm telling y'all, I don't want my son sitting in one of these chairs. I want to do the work on me to help my son with the gift that y'all have given me. For real. So so my son said, Dad, I'm going to apply, I'm going to do this, that. You know what else I felt? A conviction. I said, yeah, I need to go online because everything they do is online now. I said, and make sure. I need to double check everything. That's my duty as a father. I'm convicted. You get an F, I'm convicted. I've gotten an F. For real, you 14. It's up to me to guide you, protect you, and provide for you. I treat my household is important to me, man. It's valuable to me. Anything come threaten my household, hey, I tell my wife, don't you, listen, if somebody ring that doorbell, it's my job to open up that door. If something happened in that alarm, you ain't got to make a move and say, did you hear that? I'm already down at where it's supposed to be. That's my duty. Right? So I treat that important, man. I know that, listen, man, that God's gift to me is to say, hey, man, I trust you with these folks. Can you guide? Can you stay connected with me? That you can provide proper guidance and nourishment for not only your household, but your neighborhood. Because you're responsible, Kenny, about the condition of your neighborhood. You must be active. You know them little boys and little girls whose father is away or who passed or are not there. Well, Kenny, they're yours. You got to learn how to speak to them, life in them. The only way the community is going to get better is that you now go back and do a thorough ninth step, because you did some things to pollute that neighborhood, and it's you who must show up and clean up and help out and not just talk about how bad it is in the neighborhood. I believe that. We on assignment. That's what this gift is. This gift ain't meant to hoard, hide out in the rooms, and don't become a productive member of society. No. This gift comes with a responsibility, man. Listen, I was in the store one time, minding my business, really. I went in there to get some material to work on this one house of mine, and I show up, and it's a guy at the front of the line. And he's calling his son some very choice words, some very descriptive adjectives. And it was bothering me. There's some ladies in between me and the guy who's at the head of the line and his son. I mean, he was eating into him, right? And the ladies turned around. Look, I felt they was looking at me. But they felt, because he was eating him up. And I said, oh, God, I prayed. I said, to the guy, I said, excuse me, sir. I said, man, can me and you talk, right? He looked at me. He says, what? Right? He knew what I was going to talk to him about, because then his next words was, this is my seed, man. Right? And I said, man, I don't, I said, man, God, I ain't trying to, because I said, my thing wanted to pop up. I said, man, I ain't your son, I will, right? And I said, God, I don't want to get into right? So my man was waiting, the line moving down, and I'm at the top now, and he's standing there. And I said, man, God, please help me, right? So I paid for my stuff, and him and his son was there, and he says, man, what you want to say to me? Said it real rough. I said, man, hold up, because I seen his son eyes look up at me like I was going to do something to his father. No matter how he was talking down to his son looked, this is my dad, man. And I talked to his son first. I said, man, me and your dad, we just going to go outside and talk, man. We ain't nothing. We just going to have a conversation. And I walked outside with this man, and I said these words. I said, brother, you ever bought him something that you worked hard for and you wanted him to take care of? Yeah, man. What? Right? I said, so that was a gift, and you wanted him to take care of that gift, right? And I said these words, and I said, man, our sons. I said, I got a son, man. I said, they're a gift from God. And God wants us to take care of the gift. I said, man, you are your son's hero, man. I said, if the hero tears him down, then what will the world do to him, man? My man's whole demeanor changed. He said, who are you? What he said to me, right? So I ain't telling. I told him, Reverend this and that and that. I said, and guy said, where you go to church at, man? I said, I go, man, I'm gonna come there, right? Guy's a member there, but I've also shared this gift with my man. What I'm saying is there are always divine opportunities that we get to help the world. There's divine opportunities. Martin Luther King said, bigotry and hatred are not our most prominent enemy, but there's an enemy of solemns and on-seekers, you who say nothing, for you are the greater problem. That's what he said. Right? So how do I learn how to articulate healing them? By my actions. Right? Men's meeting ain't about talking about who and she is and how many of them I got. And all this shucking and jiving and conniving, how I'm destroying my life and still think it's funny. That ain't what the men's meeting's about. Men's meeting's about being a man amongst men. My name is Kenny. Thanks for letting me share.
Hey, I apologize. It's hard for me to cut off a good message, man. Next speaker is Vaughn from New Kensington.
My name's Vaughn. I'm an addict. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the program and committee for giving me an opportunity to come out here and carry a message, specifically amongst men. It's an honor and a privilege. Everything I have, all that I own, I owe to my higher power, who I chose to call God. He picked me up, turned me around, and set me dead square in the middle of Narcotics Anonymous. For the newcomer, welcome. If you stick around, you will transform from a boy to a man. For the newcomer, welcome. If you saw that movie, The Matrix, and you're out there, stay away from that girl with the red dress. She might be an agent. Narcotics Anonymous has been good to me. Narcotics Anonymous has taken me places and shown me things that I never dreamed of. I'm going to qualify for you in probably about 5 to 7 seconds. I started using alcohol when I was 8, ended up on a crack run when I was 23. Need I say more? I came into Narcotics Anonymous, I didn't know anything. All I knew was short sentences. What you got on it? Who's holding? Where they at? They still looking for me? I didn't know nothing else outside of that. I was a scared young man who had a twisted perception on what life was. I surrounded myself with everybody just the same. I didn't have the information prior to Narcotics Anonymous. In front of me, people hustled and smoked crack. Behind me, they hustled and smoked crack. To the left, they hustled and smoked crack. And to the right, they hustled and smoked crack. It was the norm. I come from a family of hustlers. That's what they did. That's how they did it. I don't have to ask myself if my switch is broke. I know it's broke. Whenever you come up in a home like that, there's always drugs and alcohol around. And we had a standing thing going on. Do as much as you want, how you want, but just be cool with it. You can sit here all day. Not cost you a dime, but just be cool with it. How'd I screw that up? How'd I screw that up? I know my switches broke. And that started out way back in the day when I got Army men. I had about 5,000 Army men. I couldn't have just 25, 50. I had to have it all. From the first time I started using it was never, I used to hang out with these guys and they'd say things like, we'd be going to these dances and they would say things like, put the cap on and we're going to save some for later. Dud that out. We'll smoke some after the dance. No, we're not putting the cap on nothing. We're going to drink it until it's gone. Then we're going to get more. No, we're not dudding out anything. We're going to smoke it till it evaporates, and then we're going to get more. See, I knew my switch was broke. I didn't have too many questions left when I came to Narcotics Anonymous. The disease tried to take my mind and disqualify me from this process, but I knew deep down inside that it was over. That it was over. It started out fun and games, and it ended up jails and institutions. And I remember my last one. I remember it like it was yesterday. My clean day saga is 5th of 91, and it's still fresh to me. Don't get it twisted. I still remember that last one. And when the literature tells me that the drugs start working, they start working. Because no matter how much I smoked, no matter how much I snorted, no matter how much I drank, I had this hole inside of me. My story is a miraculous story. My story is a miraculous story. And that's one of the reasons why I love being a part of this process. Because I surround myself with miracles all the time. All the time. I met my beautiful wife, Lori, who's a person in long-term recovery. Met her in a full-fledged, blown-out crack addiction. I'm talking one of those nights where I'm looking out the window and she looking out the window and we look like, hey. But now check this out. Check this out. Just come with me, because I think as men, and I think a lot of times we don't know what we got here. We really don't know what we have here in Narcotics Anonymous. This ain't no little boy stuff. This ain't something that's just going to hand itself over to you and you sit back and talk and eat Doritos and chew bubble gum. This requires work and effort. And a lot of times, people don't want to put in the work and the effort, and I said it 10,000 times, I'll say it 10,001. We want to embrace the promise and ignore the process. There's a process that takes place. The literature is clear when it says if you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then and then will you get it. You're not getting this by not putting in no work. A lot of the guys I sponsor, they tell me, do I got to do this? Do I got to do that? You ain't got to do a damn thing. You ain't got to do it. You don't have to do it. You don't have to work your stuff. I never understood that concept. See, when I came in, I was beat up, man. I was beat up. So when they came to me with these suggestions, it wasn't no second thought about it. I took it, man, because I didn't want to go back to it. I didn't want to go back out there. I was willing to put in the work. But when I met my wife in active addiction, she went to jail. And from jail, she went to treatment. Now check this out. See, I didn't know nothing about Narcotics Anonymous. I knew about that other fellowship, but I really didn't know. And I only knew about that fellowship just from, little circles here and there. Because for real, I come from the school of thought, if you just want to quit, put it down. What's up, fool? You soft. Just stop. What do you need treatment for? Well, you got to go to this meeting. Just stop. Until I tell myself my story. And my story said, that's a lie, Vaughn. How many times did you try to stop? How many times did you try to put it down? I'm talking about those times when, we didn't have much, but we had. And when the literature talks about the animalistic level, that's my story. By choice. I chose to stay in those places where there wasn't no lights and no windows and everyone flicking lighters and candles was burning all night. I remember what it felt like when they told me my mom was down there at the front door with a plate of food because she knew you hadn't ate, Vaughn. I remember what it looked like when I would see her and she'd have tears running down her eyes and she'd say, son, when are you going to stop? I remember my nephews looking at me like I was a piece of dog doo-doo. I remember everybody going to go grab their purse and all their belongings when I came around. I remember doing the calendars, the Christmases, the Thanksgivings, the birthdays, the weddings in the county jail. Where's he at? He's gone again. I keep that stuff so fresh to me. I keep it so fresh. That's why I see a lot of times new people don't understand this journey. I'm talking about doing pain. I'm talking about doing life. I'm talking about when it's just you and God and ain't nothing else working. I'm talking about when you're doing the next right thing and the wind gets blasted out of you. They say they hear your clean date and they think you got it going on. You want some of this, then do some of this. You want some of this, then do some of this. Because I look them dead square in the eye and I say, hey, check this out, my man. Where was you at when my daughter got knocked up twice at 17? Where was you at, man, when my son was in the penitentiary? Where was you at, my man, when my favorite nephew still sitting up in the federal penitentiary? Where was you at? Where was you at when them glasses and dishes and shit was breaking around the house? Where was you? Where was you at? Where was you at when my mom's legs got amputated in the year before that her and I was riding roller coasters? Where was you, bro? I'm talking about getting punched in the gut. But God is so mindful of the small things. When he sent me here in Narcotics Anonymous, he knew the tools was going to be here for me to get through life. He equipped me with 12 steps, man. And he knew that those steps would help me to mature and to being a man. See, I don't know what your story is, but I can't look at my dad and get the answer. Because he was foul play, man. My grandfather, foul play. My mom, I didn't have it. I come in here 23 years old with no instructions. I'm just looking around trying to figure out what's up because you know what? The literature's clear when it tells us that we have to stay clean. But let me tell you something, my man. Sitting right there, you about as clean as you're going to get. You ain't getting no cleaner or nothing like that. You clean, man. That's it. You're clean. Right? We ain't getting, that's it. You're clean. So now what? So what do? Walk around. I tell you what you do. When you leave here, walk up to someone down here, where we at in Erie, walk up to them and say, I'm clean. See what they say to you. They're going to look at you like you a goofball, man. If they ain't one of us, so we're clean. So Vaughn, you're clean now. So now what? Because I'm a firm believer that, like, without no purpose, like without answering the call, then it's useless, man. So why did I go through all that I went through to be here? See, addiction is such a selfish. My addiction, I was so selfish. Everything was about me. And the literature's clear when it says that the ones that love me the most, they were the ones that got steamrolled. Right? And then I come into recovery and it's still a selfish move. I ain't around, I'm doing 90 and 90, man. I'm doing what I got to do, man. So it's still selfish. Is there somewhere along this road? What I found out was that, man, all that time I thought it was about me, it really wasn't never about me. It was about my higher power, who I chose to call God, molding and shaping me to be a man so that I could do what? So that I can help somebody else, man. And that's why Narcotics Anonymous was a perfect fit for me. The literature was clear when it told me it was the last thing I tried and the first thing that worked. And when I came in here, there wasn't no stipulations. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to be bringing nothing to the table, man. When them guys said, man, come on, let's go out and eat, it wasn't whether you had it or not, Vaughn. Let's go. When dude told me, hey, man, I'm going to give you a ride to a meeting, it wasn't if I had gas money. I wasn't used to that, man. I came from a lifestyle like if you didn't have it, you wasn't in. If you wasn't bringing nothing to the table, it wasn't going down. And so I come in here and I got these guys loving on me, man. They don't even know me. They don't even know me. And they want to be my friend. And so once I figured out that I was clean, so what the hell did I want to do? What do you want to do? I'm 23. I don't know much. I heard somebody say, get with the winners, Vaughn. Get with the winners. What's a winner? What in the hell's a winner? Well, okay, well, what do you want to do, Vaughn? And I can tell you what. There was a couple things that happened to transform me. One, my first sponsor told me, he said, I want you to create a prayer box, he told me. And I said, prayer box? I said, yeah, make a little box. It's your prayer box. He said, I want you to write on there what you want from this program. In a year, I want you to go back and see what you wrote. I did it. Stop smoking crack and stay out of jail. I didn't know. A year later, man, this program had taken that little measly request and that and some. That and some. Next thing, dude came up to me. He said, listen, Vaughn, he says, people going to tell you around here to do a 90 and 90 is what he told me. He said, you're going to hear that. They're going to tell you to do a 90 meetings in 90 days. He says, but you're young, man. He said, here's what I want you to do. He says, I want you to do it for a year. He said, do it for a year. Get this program all you got for a year. He said, and at the end of that year, I'll never forget it, George. He said, at the end of that year, whatever restaurant you can treat yourself to, I want you to take yourself there and treat yourself to a dinner. And he said, as you're sitting down, I want you to reflect on what the year was like. I did it. I went up there to Veltry's, up there on Coxcomb Hill, or, you know, Veltry. And Veltry's, it just so happened, had a glass wall, and at that glass wall, I'm overlooking the valley, the AK Valley, where I did all my damage at. I could damn near see the houses that I had robbed. And during that time, I reflected. And for the first time in my life, I remember him saying, Vaughn, at that time, if you don't want to continue this journey, he said, your misery can always be refunded. He told me, he said, your misery can always be refunded. And when I sat down there and I looked over there, man, for the first time in my life, I felt like I was somebody. For the first time in my life, man, I felt like, man, I deserve this. Because it's one thing to think that you need it, and it's another thing to wonder, but do you deserve it? I had to convince myself that I deserve this. I had to tell myself that I deserve better than what I was doing. Because I'm talking about breaking generations of alcoholism and addiction. This ain't just no skipping a pawn thing. I'm talking about I was the first one, man. My mom, her mom's mom, my dad, his dad's dad. Generations of this stuff, man. Don't tell me nothing about Narcotics Anonymous. Don't tell me anything about the God I serve. The first one, man. And so when I came in, it's like, so get with the winners. And I said, okay, well, what's the winner? I'll tell you what a winner was to me. You know, coming in here with Lori, and I didn't know nothing, man. Like, I didn't know, you know, how to treat her. I didn't know how to be faithful. I didn't know how to be responsible. I didn't know nothing. And I said, man, I'm checking out these guys that are in a relationship, and I'm checking out these guys that aren't just in a relationship, but they faithful. That was important to me. I was checking out guys that had kids. Because we had one and she had two, now we got three, just like that. That's what I'm looking for. How you rolling, dog? I ain't talking about that shit you sharing in a meeting. I'm talking about when we're out. I'm checking you out outside the safety zone. You understand what I'm saying? This ain't about what you're talking about. I'm talking about what you doing. How you living, man? And I watched them. And this program, hey, listen, when it says it's available to us all, it's the truth, man. The literature's clear. It doesn't matter how much you make, where you're from, what your religious, but none of that matters. So I found these guys in Narcotics Anonymous. And you know what I did? Everything they did. And you know what I got? Everything they had. It's a simple process. It don't take a genius to figure out. My man Steve said Einstein couldn't get it, but Bozo the Clown knocks it out the park. Because it's simple, man. It's simple. So then, gathering that. Now, you hear this term in the fellowship. I call my higher power God, but you hear higher power here, higher power. So when you hear higher power, you got to know there's a lower power. So you know what? Along this journey, there's a lot of resistance that happens. There's a lot of challenges that come your way. They sure enough came my way. And I'm talking about getting real, man. I ain't talking about no okie dokie happy. You know, that rehab shit wore off in 30 days, man. It got real fast in my life. And I had to deal with it. And I remember going to my mom's house, man. I'll never forget it. I went to my mom's house, and I told Mom, she was sitting there, because we didn't have no dishwasher. She's sitting there doing dishes, and she had her back to me, and I was sitting behind her, and I said, Mom, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And she never turned around, Marcus. She just busted them suds. She said, well, what's up, son? I said, Mom, I'm 23. These cats is old, man. She never stopped it. She never did anything. She said like this. She said, well, son, I tell you what. She says, you can either get to know these old cats or you can go back to how it was. Never skipped a beat, man. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to get to know these old cats, man, because I'm not trying to go back to how it was. I'm not trying to go back to living in that animalistic level. I'm not trying to go back to when I scored, man. I had nights, I had it all. It was all on me. And when it was gone, they vanished like roaches under light. And then the next day, I would be sitting there, fiending, and I could see they just caught, because you could tell by how they was walking, they just caught. I just blew all mine. What's up? And keep on stepping, man. I'm talking about little odds and end jobs, getting paid on Friday, Sunday, going in the refrigerator, stealing somebody's lunch and shit. I'm talking about smoking Newports and ain't got one, just got paid. I know what this thing does, man. And I'm prepared. See, I love this right here, because when you can get a bunch of men like this, right now we're putting our foot on his neck, man. While I'm standing here, this is great. I love kicking the disease's backside in. And I'm prepared for the battle. I'm going out swinging, bro. And I got the tools. I got the tools to do it. I ain't got to go out like no sucker. I got the literature. Bring it. Let's do it. Let's get it on. I ain't laying down. I'm not folding up like no lawn chair no more. This disease took enough from me. I don't know about you. I'm swinging. I'm standing. I'm ready to do it, man. Let's get it on. I already know after this, it's coming at me. It don't like this. I ain't stupid. I study this thing, man. I know how my disease works. I know when it's a southpaw. I know when it jabs and uppercuts. I already know it because I studied. I take the time to study, because if I don't study, it's going to knock my ass out. And that literature is there for a reason. That's it. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. My predecessors been doing this for. They was already doing it. What I got to change it for? It's working for them. They're sitting right there. Now I want to get that Frank Sinatra shit and do it my way. But that's how the disease works, and I'm ready to take this thing to the grave with me. It ain't going to stop checking on me. It ain't going to lay down because it thinks I'm convinced and I want to do this. Hey, listen, new levels, new devils, baby. You better be ready to fight. You better be ready to get busy with this thing. It don't stop. Non-stop. I learn, it learns. I grow, it grows. I'm talking about just riding out the clear blue one day, I'm talking like a year ago, man. At this red light, and I look up and there's a sign that says like 16 ounces for $3.35 or some shit. I'm entertaining it like that. Like, what's up? It was a good day, man. Like, seriously, like what? I'm talking about being out in my backyard and my neighbor coming up over the hillside. He don't really know me. I don't really know him. I see him mowing the lawn. He see me mowing the lawn. He calls himself doing a friendly gesture. Hey, neighbor, got 2 cold ones here. I'm talking about a hot summer day. I'm talking about the beads on those bottles was as big as my head. I'm talking about, man, it sure look good. See, it's always going to check in, but see, when he don't know, right? When he don't know, and I politely declined, but I laughed when he left because I said, poor Leon. He don't know what he almost did. Like, for real. Leon didn't know what he almost did. Because Leon would have came back home, and Leon wouldn't have had no flat screen. Leon wouldn't have had no DVR. Leon wouldn't have had no car. And I tell you what, the shingles on his roof would have been gone, because I'll sell those damn things too. That's what we're dealing with, man. We're dealing with a disease that won't stop. So if I'm coming around here and I'm hanging out, and this is always just about a social event, and I'm chasing some panties and I ain't getting in the literature, your ass is done. You're done. Hey, listen, I don't tell people anything about being in a relationship or not being in a relationship, because that's not my story. I never felt like I had a right to. I came in here in a relationship, and by God's grace, it done worked out beautifully. So that's not my gig to tell you. But what I say is somebody better stand. Somebody better stand, because you can believe that shit's going to get rough. And if you can't stand, if you can't withstand that emotional wave, because it's not if, it's when it comes. Because it's coming. And if you can't withstand that emotional wave, you're going to fold like a lawn chair, man. And then you're going to be sitting around looking stupid trying to blame it on her. I know what I'm talking about. I've just seen it happen time and time again. This disease is cunning, powerful, and baffling. Where'd that thought come from? Cunning is a motherfucker. Powerful, when it jump on you, newcomer, you don't know, you can't shake it. Then baffling, once you got a pipe or a needle in your arm, you're thinking, what the fuck just happened? Like I felt like. I'm telling you, we got to get in it and we got to stay in it, man. See, my man told me, I said, a lot of people in George, they hear your story, they see the outside, and they want to put you on this pedestal, right? That's a setup. That's a setup. You could try to put me on there all you want, but I ain't stepping up there. I ain't getting up there, man, because that's a setup. I suffer from a disease with ego. Bad. My disease wants me to think I got it, man. My disease don't want me to go to meetings. I've done 390 and 90s after year 20. Don't tell me about this shit. I'm talking about staying busy, man. I'm talking about putting in the work, man. This ain't no office job. This is steel mill shit. This is steel mill stuff, man. I'm talking about lacing up them metatarsals and getting out there and fighting in flames, man. Because that disease is coming to a theater near you. It's coming to a theater near you, and it's coming in 3D, baby. And everybody know, hey, listen. I listen to my predecessors. I listen to them, man. Listen, they full throttle, baby. They ain't let up off the accelerator once. Full throttle every time I go. They're there. What makes me think that I can let up off the throttle? What makes me think that I can sit back and just lay on my laurels? Listen, my man, either we're going forwards or we're going backwards. You ain't setting up no tit in here. It ain't like you get so far and you say, okay, I'm okay. The disease chews that up. I'm serious about it. I get passionate about it, man. And I got the rewards to show. Hey, listen. I don't just talk it, I walk it. I'm a grown man standing before you today, not no little scared punk that came in here in August the 4th of 91. I'm a grown man. All because of Narcotics Anonymous. I made many mistakes. Got some more mistakes to make. I already know it. The literature's clear. See, the literature don't lie to me. Ain't no perfect role model in here. But the one mistake I ain't made, I ain't put that dope in me. Because here's what I know. Once I put it in me, I don't give a damn about making nothing right. Once I put it in me, I go hard, man. There's nothing dainty about the way that I use. I'm not no light, tight little user like dude. You understand what I'm saying? Like I go hard, man. And I'll do whatever I got to do to get it. Sell my ass, whatever. I go hard. So I know that about myself. So that's why I stay in the literature. That's why I walk this thing. That's why, sometimes when people see, when I was doing those 90 and 90s, people say, oh, that's nice to see you still coming around. Damn it, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. What are you talking about? It's nice to see you coming around. I'm supposed to be coming around. They didn't say get 20 years and then stop. They didn't say that and then it don't come around. That's called shoplifting. You come up in here and you take everything and then you don't give nothing back. You a shoplifter, man. And all that leads to a spiritual bankruptcy. What'll have you at the spiritual pawn shop and shit. Trying to sell your coin. This is serious, man. This ain't no joke, man. Hey, listen, I tell you what. Have a good time up here, man. Do what you do. Enjoy it. We put a nice, beautiful committee does a great job every year. But you better keep that thing on a swivel. For real, you better keep it on the swivel. You better stay close for what's really going on. It's nice, man. I like the dances. I love the, I love everything. Comedy, all that stuff is great, man. But I keep it on the swivel. Because this ain't no, see, when I first came around here, George, it would be like I would suffer that thing when the convention was over. It'd be like, damn, oh, man, I hate to go back home. Shit, I am home. Ain't nothing changed. This ain't no fantasy world. It's still real here. My disease tried to get me here just like it's going to try to get me when I get back to New Kent. It ain't what? All that was an indicator of Vaughn. You let yourself float off in a world that you felt was a fantasy. No, this is real. Let me pinch your ass right now. You going to say, ouch? This is real. So we have to learn that balance on really applying the steps through all areas of my life, man. And understanding that like this literature works. Like it's for real. Don't rob yourself and not get into this literature. Don't rob yourself and not get a sponsor. Don't rob yourself and not get a home group. Don't rob yourself and not get in touch with a higher power, man. This is real. This is real. And I tell you what, all the people I've seen coming around here and all the people I go, two things is what I know. If they make it back, because they ain't making it back like they used to. If they make it back, they all say the same thing 100% of the time. I stopped coming around. I got disconnected. Mental note, Vaughn, don't do that shit. And those that come in, they denounce a higher power. They don't believe in no higher power. They don't want to hear nothing about a higher power. If they don't convert, if they don't transform over, I'm talking about you better grab on to something. If they don't grab on to something, Mother Nature, some leaves, some trees, something. No, I'm serious. I'm serious about it. Like if they don't grab on to something, they ain't around. You could take it for what it's worth. My name's Vaughn. I'm an addict. Thank you.
Form a circle. Can we try and form a circle and close the meeting, please, for those who choose? Or do we just say the serenity prayer? I don't know. Yo, those who choose, let's try to form a circle. Close the meeting right, form a circle. What's up? Yeah. Come on up and get it if you have to. Okay. Rick,